residential tech talk, and lighting specialist to our residential tech
house.
Welcome to Residential Tech Talks. I'm Jeremy Glowacki, Executive Editor of Residential Tech Today. On this week's podcast, Ben Bard joins us from Coopersburg, Pennsylvania, where he is VP of Luxury Residential Business at Lutron. Ben was one of the presenters at an event I was honored to attend last month at Lutron's Ketra manufacturing facility in Austin, Texas, where he and other company executives introduced all-new Ketra and Rania D2 luxury architectural downlights to invited dealers, lighting designers, and press. Today, we'll get to know a little bit more about Ben's experience at Lutron and find out everything you need to know about Lutron's latest lighting fixture introduction. Ben Bard, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Jeremy. Great to be here.
We're recording. Excited. Yeah, me too. We're recording this on June 11th, just as a reference point on the schedule, and probably going live in a couple of days after that. So just checking in. I love to kind of see where we are, different places in the country, or late spring, almost summer. How are things in the Lehigh Valley for you?
Well, in Pennsylvania, we like to say there's about 2 weeks of the year where it's absolutely beautiful. And so this week happens to be one of those weeks. So pretty lucky timing for that. So just enjoying it.
Love it. Yeah, me too. I'm in the Indianapolis area, and it's lush and green and beautiful right now. And certain flowers that only bloom for like a week are blooming. So that's always nice.
The only unfortunate part about the 2 weeks is I have allergies.
Oh.
So that's also the weeks of allergies. So trade-offs.
Exactly. Well, that's what medication's for, I guess. But good luck with that. We'll enjoy it as much as we can. So it was great seeing you about a month ago, almost exactly, at the facility there in Austin. It was really cool to see where products actually are somewhat manufactured. I know not everything is done there, but a lot of the Ketra product pieces come together at that facility. So that was a really cool experience for me and a lot of people that were there. But before we get into that, I just wanted to kind of get people to know you a little bit better. It looks like, according to your LinkedIn profile, you're a bit of a lifer there at Lutron.
Yeah, that's right, Jeremy. I've been at Lutron for, I think, 18 years now. I think I just passed 18 years. So time really flies when you're working hard, I guess. But
has that been your entire post-college career with Lutron?
So I had 7 job offers coming right out of college. I chose Lutron, moved up here from West Virginia, and I've been here ever since. So now I gained my passion for the lighting and lighting controls industry at Lutron. I barely knew what a dimmer was before I came to Lutron. So
what did you study in college before you got
I studied electrical engineering with a focus on embedded and software.
Okay.
And so, it fit right in with what Lutron does.
And did you grow up in West Virginia?
Yeah, both of my parents' families are from Pennsylvania, so I have some family nearby. But yeah, I grew up in West Virginia most of my life. My parents moved down there when I was very young.
Okay, and so you were the rare Lutron employee, I guess, in the past 18 years. It's changed a bit, but there's so many folks I know came out of the military that worked for Lutron. It just seemed like that was really where the training ground was for a lot of employees. So it's a unique thing to meet someone that wasn't from a military.
The regimented kind of organization of the military folks. I think Lutron's really appreciated that over the years.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're a pretty diverse company at this point in our history as we've grown and grown. So it's a much bigger place than when I started, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. Expanded in other parts of the world as well. And I know that the headquarters there in Coopersburg is still really, really important to the company, but there's experience centers all over the place. Manufacturing operations.
Yeah, we do our own manufacturing. And so we have manufacturing facilities all over the world. We just opened, a couple years ago, we just opened a very large manufacturing facility in Costa Rica. And then, recently we broke ground on a massive shades facility in North Lake, Virginia. Nearly 150,000 additional square feet. So huge new shades production coming out of the U.S. And you mentioned Ketra is mostly built in Austin, Texas. We do our production between there and Mexico of the Ketra product lines. But yeah, a lot of it is done right in Texas at our facility there. And then we have a ton of engineering and sales offices around the world. So engineering facilities in the U.S. in Conshohocken, right outside of Philly, one in downtown Philly, in the Coopersburg area. We have one in Ohio, Florida, and Boston. So we've been expanding over the last 10 years or so.
Yeah, and the Ketra part of the company is unique in that it was an acquisition. And I don't have in front of me how many years ago that was. Do you recall how far back that was?
Yeah, that was a little over 7 years ago now.
Okay. Yeah, so that was a unique thing. Most of Lutron is developed in-house, and Ketra came along and was just such a unique product. There was an opportunity, as I understand it, to make that acquisition.
I had the pleasure to participate in that acquisition. I was part of the due diligence team. I was running our software engineering group at the time. And so I was down there for several weeks doing due diligence. And one of the things that really stood out for us was the passion for the product. And they had a passion for lighting similar to what we have for, wireless control and reliability and things. So it was a really good culture match when we met them because of their, they're crazy about lighting. And so that was one of the things that really stuck out to us and made it seem like a good fit, along with the innovation that they did there. So pretty innovative product. So we picked it up.
And
other reasons.
Right. And not to jump all over the place too much, but just as far as like kind of historical references and the way that technologies kind of come together, it feels natural now that Lutron has lighting fixtures, but for the longest time it was shades and lighting control. There was no fixture in the line manufactured by Lutron before the acquisition. Is that correct?
No, we did have a few. So we had what we call our Valo lighting. So
that's true. Yeah,
a few years ago, we had a couple very specific decorative fixtures for a long time. And then we had the Thineri downlight family.
Okay.
For 4 or 5 years before Ketra. But Ketra marked our real expansion into intelligent lighting category. And, when we really started taking it seriously, I would say. And so that, that was kind of the start of really trying to fill out the portfolio.
Yeah. And obviously what got everyone's attention with Ketra when they showed up on the scene before they were a Lutron brand was that, basically, I'm trying to think of which term is okay to use.
Are you talking about vibrancy?
Well, not that particular thing, but just in terms of bringing the outdoors in aspect to it.
Yeah, natural light.
Natural light is kind of where you've sort of settled in terms of the terminology. Very straightforward, but biophilia was one of the terms that was thrown around for a long time in terms of just
or circadian
rhythm lighting and all of that, right? Yeah. And so that kind of came along, and everyone got excited about, wow, this is really an interesting concept, especially because artificial lighting, after you're leaving behind incandescent, which was very natural feeling to most people, I would assume all people, and then you get the artificiality of LED lighting to try to figure out a way to make it more like the experience that we all kind of grew up with and are comfortable with as humans. But then bring it even more extreme than that with mimicking sunlight and mimicking, the firelight and that type of thing. So that's where Ketra kind of got attention, and then of course the vibrancy part of it as well, which was an interesting design feature that added to it.
Yeah, just to say a little more on that, Jeremy.
Sure.
We watched, Lutron's obviously been around for a long time. We invented the solid state dimmer in 1960. And so we watched the lighting industry, and the quality of light has been super important to us since our founding. And what we watched as efficacy standards came up in the industry was that things like compact fluorescent and other things before LED really gained prominence in our view, really dropped the quality of light that was provided in many ways. And so it really wasn't until Ketra that LED technology advanced enough to surpass the incandescent source. And so incandescents and halogens were the gold standard forever.
Mm-hmm.
And really, it took a while for the technology to mature enough until LED can really surpass. And now it has. To your point about the warmth of the incandescent light, Ketra can, track the sun and follow the warmth of the sun throughout the day. So, even takes it a step further than those great light sources, incandescent and halogen.
And so I guess we, can bring it up to the D2 introduction and how there obviously was a gold standard kind of quality of Ketra in the channel, and there's always room for improvement, I guess, in anything. And so what were sort of the goals there a couple of years ago when you started? I guess that was the appropriate amount of time, maybe it's longer, developing the next iteration or updates to Ketra.
Yeah, so we, after the acquisition of Ketra, we have been kind of learning from the market and implementing it, selling it, making updates, and really listening hard. And I think that's where we started to hear all the feedback that kind of went into the next generation, which is the D2, which we just launched, you're referring to. So, we had a couple years there to really listen hard and really understand the trends that the market was going towards. One of the key ones that the design community really shared with us was the trend towards quieter ceilings and minimizing the look and the disruption of the ceiling that the downlight has. And so smaller apertures were requested. Well, that was a major development for us because, to mix the Ketra light and do all those things that we're talking about, it was a major physics problem to get that to come out of a smaller source without compromising on Ketra quality of light. And we weren't going to compromise on Ketra quality of light and the performance. So we really had to do some serious engineering to, make that in a smaller form factor. But that's what we were able to do. We were able to reduce the aperture to 2 inches and lean into that feedback about the quieter ceilings that people are looking for, in the more modern times. And then some of the other key feedbacks we heard were more price points to fill out the house. And more flexibility there that can be mixed. And so that led us to the launch of Rania D2, which is a little more cost effective, can surround Ketra, but provides the best and the closest natural light following in the industry other than Ketra. And so, that's what led us to that development. And then there's a lot of, what might be small things, but are big to the design community and others in the space, dealers, were things like precision aiming system with a tool that can be done even with the small aperture without blocking the beam. So you can do it while the light's on and see exactly where that light goes. So it makes the aiming easier. Ultra slim housings. The adjustable is 3.5 inches deep and the fixed is 2 inches deep. So that's ultra slim. That gives flexibility to work around ducts and other things that you're going to encounter in the ceiling. So just really providing a great pro experience and incorporating a lot of the feedback that that community gave us. So those are some of the things that have gone into it.
It was interesting as we did some of the walkthrough there at the Ketra headquarters, and one of the dealers, I believe, said something about the toolless versus the tool aiming. And the point from the person who was speaking, I don't remember what their name was, but their original Ketra employee. And they said, well, the funny thing is when we were designing the original Ketra products, toolless seemed to be like the thing everyone wanted. But then there, with the changes and the complicated, just getting your hands in the fixture and all of that to be able to do it, it's just really difficult. And the added tool actually was a benefit. So just kind of funny how things change, but yeah, obviously the tolerances and different sizes of pieces make that, change needed. But I saw that demo and got to experience it myself, how you aim it. And it was very ergonomic and intuitive. It looks like good design.
Yeah, it's worth experiencing and playing with, which we have it available in our experience centers and in our Austin studio. But it's worth getting one and playing with it because it's a very smooth mechanism. And to your point, now that there's a 2-inch aperture up there, imagine a 2-inch hole trying to fit your hand through that.
Yeah.
It becomes very difficult. And so, our customers are asking for precision when they're highlighting some of the world's foremost art with these lights.
Yeah.
And so it's difficult to achieve that precision with a toolless and in that kind of aperture. And so we wanted to give that kind of precision. And we chose to do it with just a standard Allen key.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a tool that everyone should have pretty easy access to. So,
yeah, I'm not an integrator, obviously, or a lighting designer. And I remember someone said, can you supply that tool with every fixture? And I'm thinking, I have one in my house, I know that tool very well. I think that's easily acquired by any integrator.
yeah.
Nice to have.
Although I will tell you that the integrators love our blue Lutron screwdrivers.
Oh,
and so stay tuned. There may be a blue Lutron T-handled Allen key that's perfect for
there you go,
aiming and focusing these new D2s. But
that's nice.
It's also readily available, and I'm sure that most integrators have it in their toolbox right now already. So
right. Well, as far as going back to the ultra slim housings, I also was overhearing folks who work in the MDU space and how there's always a competition for that tolerance above the ceiling, that space above the ceiling, the cavity there, because every builder wants to gain as much ceiling height as they can, and so they're always losing it. Premium is a premium to find space up there for the fixture. So that seems to be kind of guiding that goal.
Yeah,
there.
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And just flexibility too, because there's always a ton of stuff around the ceilings. These houses are getting more and more complex. And so even if you could work around it, it's just nice to have that thinness so you don't have to, and you can preserve the lighting design as it was intended. So there's a lot of applications where that becomes nice. But yeah, MDU is definitely a big one that we heard.
And so with Rania, which for those who haven't read my coverage, which I shame on you for not reading my article, but spelled Rania. And for some reason, I keep thinking of Bobby Brown Tenderoni. I don't know why that keeps going in my head, but late 80s.
At least you pronounced it right. That's good. You're getting trained. Some people start with Rania, but it's Rania. You got it. You got it right.
Yeah, I never. There's obviously all kinds of marketing research on naming products and all that, but I thought that was a really unique one. I'm sure there's some story behind that.
Oh yeah, there's quite a story behind that.
Do you care to share it, or you do?
Well, some of the long Lutron customers will know that's actually a former Lutron product.
Okay.
So that was a name that Lutron had, and I believe it means it means a queen of. I think Syria is where the origin of that word is. But Lutron often picks names that, will become the product, I would say, so that it's like, as you begin to love the product, the name kind of grows on you. And so that's in general, there's, we pick names that sound nice to build around. But in this case, that was a former Lutron product that we all loved and was discontinued.
Okay.
And so we decided to bring it back.
Nice. Okay, so let's compare and contrast then the Ketra D2 and the Rania D2. And obviously the idea you said was to be able to mix and match in different parts of the house where you didn't necessarily want to do the premium Ketra option. What is it that Rania does not have that Ketra D2 has?
Yeah, so first let me just say what we believed we had to keep. So the white light and the natural following, what we, the industry calls the black body curve, which is the way that light's produced from a heat source. So, we looked at quality of light and said this has to live up to, a a very high quality of light level. So we started from there and kept that white light, but accenting or using color, which is full saturated color Ketra can do, was something that we decided in order to give another option for the rest of the house. We wouldn't produce light in that way because it's very good, but it's very costly, and that's some of what makes Ketra Ketra. So Rania does not have full spectrum; it's white light only. Ketra's color temperature range is much broader, so it goes from 1400 to 10,000 CCT, and Rania goes from 1800 to 5500 CCT, which gives you really good warm range of colors to tune or warm dim within, but not quite as wide as Ketra. Rania is about 30% cheaper, or 40% cheaper than a Ketra source. And so really in places where, Ketra design in most of the house if you can, and where you need to accessorize it, the white light is a pretty good match. As I mentioned, better than anything else in the industry as far as following that curve of natural light.
Yeah, my friend and your colleague Melissa Andresco said, like the kids' rooms and places like that would probably be obvious places where you wouldn't necessarily need the full spectrum lighting, or maybe closets, big walk-in closets and things like that, where you want the quality light, and maybe it kind of, you want to see the fixtures match from the master bedroom into the closet, but not necessarily have it as premium and full spectrum. But I'm still wrapping my head around what the different CCT Kelvin numbers kind of match up to. So in my article, I made a point of listening over and over again to probably what you said in your presentation, comparing those, and wrote it down, made it part of the article, and I need to reference it all the time, just kind of get in my brain. But the candlelight is about 1400 Kelvin, and the Arctic sky is about 10,000 Kelvin. Is that correct?
Yeah,
the way you
that's
described
right.
it. And then the incandescent warmth, which is my favorite, is 1800, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, as it's warm dimming,
Yes.
down at the lower dim levels. Yeah.
And then somewhere in between there is the 5500 Kelvin, which is the midday sun effect.
Right.
So,
just a bright, energizing midday sun. Yep.
Right. Okay. So those are good frames of reference for those who are just kind of getting into lighting and understanding the different ranges. But that's always something that when you're hearing it out loud and the numbers are getting blasted at you, I'm just naturally bad at hearing a number and understanding what it means. But those are now something I'm trying to get basically locked into my memory.
A plug for our experience centers, or experiencing this stuff in general. I think, make it to your point, like until you make the mental connection of what is 1800, it's really hard to understand that. But once you kind of experience it, then you lock up a mental picture. I mean, that's some of what has happened to me at Lutron, is that I have been ruined by gray light, so that most Airbnbs I can't go to anymore.
Yeah, no kidding.
I wouldn't help them upgrade their lighting when I do. So
for sure, yeah, there's so much bad lighting these days, unfortunately, and folks who spent a lot of money on their homes too, and just didn't understand that part of it, unfortunately.
Well, certainly we would agree.
A lot of good opportunities out there. One of the other observations I made, which I think going to the Ketra facility made this possible, was that Horace Ho is still involved in the company, one of the original Ketra founders.
Yeah, he was one of the original founders, and he's still working with Ketra every day, helping chart the path forward.
Yeah, and that's really cool to see. A lot of times you have an acquisition, and folks who are the entrepreneurs just don't feel comfortable sticking around with that. But I suppose he has a passion for this business too, like everyone at Lutron does. So that's great to see.
Yeah, and I think back to my original point of the commonality between the companies and the passion. Mm-hmm. I would guess that's one of the reasons he continues to be there, is because we we have a similar passion. We're driving in a similar way to, some of the original principles of Ketra. And so he's able to bring that passion to bear still to this day.
Well, so you had great turnout. Obviously, made a big point of inviting as many of your top integrators and lighting design professionals out there to these events last month. A couple different sessions. I kind of overlapped from one to the other slightly, but did you get any good feedback from folks that were there? Mostly just positive reinforcement that you guys have done the right thing. Any insights from that you can recall?
Yeah, so I think there was a lot of positive reinforcement that we had finally listened to what they were telling us to do. So that was good. That was good to hear. It seems like we listened well in most of the cases. I think people were very encouraged and are looking for additional form factors in the portfolio to surround this product. So, tracks and cylinders and remodeler form factors and those sorts of things were some of the top feedback. And so stay tuned. We're looking into those questions and looking to listen and help the market get into this business. So we'll definitely be looking at that in the future. And then the mix of how this could work and the tool set that Lutron provides was another, kind of one that we don't think about that much, but came out loud and clear is that, one of the advantages Lutron has is we have made a huge investment into an ecosystem of tools that we call Lutron Connect that allows dealers and professionals to really manage the details. So Lutron is taking care of all the aspects of quality and ensured that across our portfolio. And so when a dealer uses our ecosystem, they have all the tools to configure all of that. So, more and more, we got lots of requests for other form factors to be in that ecosystem. And so the power of those tools in the ecosystem to configure these very complex systems, also came out loud and clear that they want to see that continue. So that was positive. And then there was some tweaks and things we heard that could be improved, as there's always things you can glean from the market about what to do, what you've done well and what you've not done so well. And so there's a couple of things we're looking into that around millwork ceilings that I think we're going to be able to resolve before we ship the first product in September. That were really good and that we were able to get in person directly from the folks who know about that the most. So, those are like millwork and mud and ceiling applications and how to make it easier to do those applications. So that was great to get that feedback as well.
Yeah, I forgot about that part of it. Was some of that that housing that allows that mudding to occur into I don't know the terminology right off the top of my head because I don't talk it every day, but the little trough around the outside allows you to have that clean line.
Yeah, so that way you can put drywall right up to the edge of the trim and not have a flange on the ceiling.
Yes.
So it's an even cleaner install. It also shows off your skill as a builder or someone who can do millwork to that level. Right. The very fine finishing to be able to pull that off. So it's a mark of quality in the building of the home, and it also makes an even cleaner ceiling. So very exciting installation method. But then there's also flange trims that cover some of that and make it easier to install. So
right,
people do both.
So you answered one of my final questions, which is when the new D2 products were going to be available. So that's September.
Yeah.
When they start shipping.
So we're going to start shipping them on September 2nd.
Okay.
And we're taking orders now. So if you're a Lutron dealer, get your orders in and you can use our tools to configure, start speccing out jobs. We have a whole set of trainings, both online and in person, that are around the country going on right now. So ask your local rep for training access and get trained up in time to start putting this on jobs. What I would say is we have the Ketra D3 was the benchmark before this product came out. And really, it's been improved in every way, and it got cheaper. So it's not very often that you get a product bump like that kind of steps forward in that way. So it's really a no-brainer for dealers to adopt and start using who have been using Ketra before.
Right. And final question, really just kind of a silly one, but September is also CEDIA Expo. So Lutron has one of the coolest booths out on the show floor with in walking into the booth, the experience of actual sort of spa, home kind of environment. You adapting that a bit for D2, or is there some all new kind of design that we're looking forward to?
Yeah, so we're pretty excited to show D2. Obviously, D2, both Rania and Ketra versions are going to have a huge presence at that CEDIA show. So definitely stop by and see it in person, experience it, and talk to us. And we're going to have it D2 installed in that experience.
Okay.
Then there's going to be a lot of product details to let you see the inner workings, see the installation process, see the tools and how you can use it to really get into the applications. And then this year, we're going to have a lab room for existing dealers who are already our customers. And that's where you're going to have engineers from Lutron there. And you're going to kind of get what you got to experience with the hands-on nature of some of those things and access to talk to the people who designed it. And we're going to have that in a lab space close to the booth for existing customers. So there's a lot of ways to experience it and really get deep with it. So definitely it's going to be worth coming out to learn more about D2 and see it hands-on.
That's great. Looking forward to it. I feel like I definitely got that preview, but I think folks who didn't have a chance to attend the event in Austin really should check that out if they're existing dealers. So Ben, thanks so much for taking me back through all the new stuff with D2, Rania and Ketra, and thanks for your time today.
Yeah, thanks, Jeremy.
Ben Bard is VP of Luxury Residential Business at Lutron. You can learn more about Ketra D2 and Rania D2 at the Lutron website, lutron.com. And that wraps up today's show, which was produced by Residential Tech Today, IPW, and Pretty Easy Podcasts. If you're new to Residential Tech Talks, please subscribe to the podcast wherever you watched or listened to this episode. Also, check out the latest residential tech news at our magazine's website, restechtoday.com, where you can also subscribe to the print or digital magazine and to our Tuesday and Thursday email newsletters. Until next time, please stay safe, stay inspired, and let us know if you have a great story to tell.
Residential
automation
Tech Talk,
device,
autonomous lighting
device,
specialist to Residential Tech
smart
Talk.
home or smart house.